Good morning, Wabash. Speaking today at Pioneer Chapel will be Mr. Nicholas Kashon with his talk titled Suicide, How a Guitar and a Wabash Grad Saved a Veteran's Life. Mr. Kashon is a United States Air Force veteran and a 2000 graduate of Indiana University. He has been a teacher, coach, retired business owner, and currently works the night shift with the safety department here at Wabash. He is the founder and director of Y22, a nonprofit that uses its platform to spread awareness of the 22 veterans who commit suicide daily and uses donation to assist veterans locally in times of financial crisis. In his personal life, Mr. Kashon enjoys spending time with his fiancée, Miss Nicole Spires, who is also a member of the Wabash staff, as well as spending time with his family. He can frequently be found on the diamond or the pitch as he officiates high school baseball and soccer. Let's give a warm welcome to Nick.
Good morning, Wabash. Good morning. Thanks for having me. As you heard, my name is Nicholas Kashon, and many of you have seen me on the night shift here on the campus. But I've had many titles: fiance, father, coach, director, graduate. If I'm on the ball diamond, it's, hey, Blue, that was outside. Honor guardman, and one of the ones I'm most proud of, Sergeant, United States Air Force. As mentioned, I am the director and founder of a nonprofit named Y22, which helps to spread the awareness of veteran suicide and help in times of financial crisis. But before we start, if we have any other veterans in the room, I'd like them to stand up and please be acknowledged. Any other veterans? I know Steve's a veteran. Steve's obviously going to be our oldest veteran in the room, and C-Pray is probably our youngest veteran in the room. I would like to acknowledge the fact that any veteran in this room at one time took an oath to their country with everything in their power to defend our Constitution up to and including their life. I realize today's subject is tough to talk about, and if at any time you don't feel comfortable, I won't be offended if you politely dismiss yourself. Our population of U.S. veterans is roughly 18 million men and women who have served time in various branches of the military, or approximately 6% of our adult population, with Vietnam-era veterans being the highest percentage of those. Sadly, 22 veterans a day commit suicide, approximately one every hour, or nearly 8,000 a year. This number has been on the increase every year since the 2000s. In today's society, a veteran has a 4 times greater chance to die by suicide than they ever had dying in battle. Can I get this front row right here, 4 gentlemen, to stand up for a second? Just you 4. Now I'm going to take the power vested in me by myself, and I'm going to promote all of you in this room to the rank of private. So now I outrank everybody. First time in my life, but I do outrank everybody. But these 4 gentlemen are the only 4 in this room who would never had to experience the pain of suicide. Gentlemen, you can sit down. Out of a room this size, 98% of all veterans know or have worked with somebody who has committed suicide. So that would leave in a room this size only 4 of us not to have ever had to experience it. Veteran suicide statistically is 2.5 times greater than someone who's never served. If the number of suicides by veterans were proportionate to the population, we would only lose 9 a day. At Y22, we chose our name, Y22, because we want to know why we're losing 22 veterans a day. What is happening in our country that we lose 22 veterans a day? Our group's made up of local veterans. As mentioned, 2 of us are Wabash employees, my fiance, Miss Spires, who's up in the balcony, myself, some local friends, and some local family. And we volunteer to speak in settings like this and raise money. One of the board members, a friend of mine since 1975, so probably even older than most of your parents. We've been friends for 50 years, and I asked him to be on our board one day. And for the first time, he shared with me how when he was in the Army, he came home from work one day and found his roommate hanging from the shower. Larry and I have played golf hundreds of times in our life, shared way too many adult beverages together for this never to come up around the fire pit. I didn't know. But we were from a time when we were told to rub some dirt on it, man up, or quit being a sissy. But in today's society, we now have a platform where we're allowed to speak about mental health, veteran suicide, and encourage mental health. We help to raise money to help veterans in time of financial crisis. We help by taking away some of the triggers that may cause a veteran to be overwhelmed, whether that's a utility bill, a gas bill, rent, car payment, or they just can't afford groceries. We understand that a majority of people's problems can be financial. After we've taken away that veteran's immediate need, we try to find other sources to help them, whether it's physical, mental, or legal health. We understand that not every veteran is suicidal, but we like to practice what we call fishing upstream, where we take care of the small problem before it becomes a big problem, and then it becomes a trigger leading to suicide. We set up in public spaces like the rodeo or the downtown fair, and we share our message, hoping to sell some of our swag so we can get a little more money for our cause. But most of the time, we just have veterans coming up to us and telling us their story and sharing their story with us. Having someone else familiar with your similar experiences helps most veterans to deal with problems. As I mentioned, we have 18 million veterans in our country. Coincidentally, we have about 18 million college students in our country. And sadly, we lose 4 college students every day to suicide, nearly 1,100 a year. 65% of all college students know someone who has either tried or committed suicide. Research shows us that for each suicide, 135 people are directly affected. That number, especially in a tight community like here at Wabash, is certainly low. When a small college or community like this loses someone, the impact to the campus or town resonates with almost everyone. There are many reasons for such a high rate of suicide in the veteran population. I'm going to take a few minutes to go over a few of them. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Many veterans have seen or had to do things that they cannot even describe to others. It lives in their thoughts, it lives in their dreams for the rest of their lives. Many Vietnam veterans were not even given a chance to join the military. They were drafted into service for a war they may or may not have believed in. Can you, as 18 to 23-year-old gentlemen, know that when you're in high school, your number might come up and you may have to go fight a war in a country that I doubt most of you could find on a map, in a time when your society did not have any respect for what you were doing. So I ask you, the next time you see that veteran at Walmart or downtown wearing his Korean War hat or his Vietnam hat, we all know the one, the guy with the faded Wranglers, with his white New Balance shoes with grass stains on them for sure. He probably reeks of Marlboros and beer, but at one point, I know, and you should find out, that he was probably more badass than we could ever imagine. And these soldiers came back from a war, they were spit on and ostracized, and they were not given the same gratitude as a soldier since 9/11. That is one of the main reasons our Vietnam veterans have the highest rate of suicide among veterans. But there's multiple other reasons, like the lack of organization. When you've been in the military, there's honor, code, and discipline, and you get out and that's disappeared. Your enlistment or commission could be anywhere from 4 to 20 years, and at one point you were told to some extent when to eat, when to sleep, when to work, and definitely you were told what to wear and how to wear it. That feeling of structure goes away when you leave the service, and you can't figure out how to deal with that lack of structure. Another issue for most is you can't transition from military experience to civilian experience. You may have been in charge. See, that's the same phone that rings when I'm working at night, so I almost answered it. But these veterans, when they were in the service, they may have been in charge of $30 million jets. They might have flown a drone. They might have drove a tank. They might have been in the infantry and used firearms that the general public will never have access to. They might have been the supply guy for an entire squadron. They could have been a cook or many numerous other jobs in the military. And then they're told, your experience in the military does not transition to the real world. In my personal position, I was trained to be a structural engineer. I helped to build runways, command centers, tent cities, and we spent weeks every year preparing for wartime situations, only to be able to find a low-level position at the factory when I returned home. These and many other factors can sometimes be overwhelming to a veteran. But on the flip side, you college guys have your same problems. Stress, overexertion, time management, being away from home for the first time, new friend groups, new peers, and that overwhelming feeling of trying to become an adult. We all know that adulting sucks, and trying to figure out how to do it is no easy task. But in the military, there is a sense of brotherhood that goes beyond definition. Everyone has your back, and you have a common goal. You have been trained in your field to help defend the principles of our government. Every veteran has endured basic training, weeks-long courses that breaks every human down to the minimum and then builds them up to be the best airman, Marine, soldier, or sailor. Every military member understands their role. They understand the chain of command and knows what it is to be part of a mission. You have spent weeks, sometimes months, training to be part of something bigger than yourself. I've only seen the guy I got to room with for 3 years out of the 4 that I was in the Air Force. I've seen Scott 2 times in the last 32 years. But we still talk. We share stories of our children. We relive the glory days of the past, or at least the ones we can remember, and we try to figure out life, figured out how to deal with the loss of our families, cope with divorce, and how to deal with sickness. We have each other's backs, even though we're 1,200 miles apart. It is a brotherhood, and it's proven every time I get to talk to Scott. When I made it back to Crawfordsville after basic training in my engineering school, I got to see my best friend's grandfather. This gentleman grew up across the street from me. Mr. Gill was all of 5'7" and 140 pounds. I always thought of him as a little gentleman when I was younger. I'd been at his house 1,000 times, but the first time he sees me come back from training, he took me into the same basement that we played in multiple times, but this time he opened a safe, and he showed me the Purple Heart that he had earned in World War II. I had no idea that this gentleman, I knew he was in the Army, but I had no idea he'd earned a Purple Heart. He told me about how he watched the flag being raised on Mount Suribachi in Iwo Jima. We've all seen the picture of the 4 gentlemen raising the flag. Mr. Gill got to watch it. And then he spent hours telling me stories about military in 1944 and 1945. None of this he ever mentioned to me or his grandson as kids. And we talked for a couple hours, and finally I'm like, Mr. Gill, why now? And in Mr. Gill's perfect way, he looked at me with this nice charm, and he used the same nickname as he did when I was a kid. Oh, Nickel Pickle, you're in the club now. So these are the examples of brotherhood. It shows every day in our life. A brotherhood without race, without religion, without judgment. I could go on all day with stories about my military, but we have much other stuff to get to. I see that brotherhood here at Wabash as well. I'm just an outsider looking in. I have numerous connections to this college, but I'm still an outsider because I've never been an alum or a student. But I see everything with that far-off stare of a veteran and deep attention, like most veterans. But my job here on the campus is to keep you all safe and make sure your composites get back to the right fraternity house. But honor, code, and discipline. Not far from the same service, but you guys use that honor, code, and discipline. It comes from your gentleman's rule. Traditions like chapel sing. I can almost sing the school song now because I've heard it so much. But I can't. To the brotherhood at each fraternity, you guys cover for each other. You guys have a brotherhood that will last the rest of your lives. The small infighting, mentioning composites again, between fraternities, like friends who served in different branches of the military. Small inside jokes, but in the end, you'll have each other's backs. The support you guys have for your athletic programs for each other. We have 850 students on campus, and we get 1,500 people at a football game, and at least 600 of them are students. You guys have each other's backs. The lifelong friendships that alumni share, and how they have your back, and how they'll probably get you a job at Eli Lilly if you really need one. Because at one time, you've decided to become a Wabash man. Now, on a side note, while researching for this talk, and this has nothing to do with this talk at all, but I have found what I may consider my favorite deceased Wabash alum of all time. His name is Ed Summers. Ed was from Ladoga, and he went to Wabash in the early 1900s. But Ed went on to play for the Detroit Tigers. He still holds one major league record. He pitched 19 innings in a single-day doubleheader. In one Tiger record, has he had a 1.64 earned run average for the 1908 Tigers. But what makes him my favorite is he lost games 1 and 4 of the 1908 World Series to my beloved Cubs, giving them the title. So that is why Mr. Ed Summers is my favorite Wabash alum. But I see the amount of swag you guys have. I look around here, and there's at least half of you that still have on Wabash gear. The faculty, the staff, the alumni, they all wear Wabash gear all the time. I don't know if the students have 14 shirts that all say Wabash, or they just don't know how to do laundry, but you all have Wabash all the time. As I walk around campus, I see on the northeast wall of Center Hall a faded bronze plaque dedicated to the nearly 500 Wabash men who fought in the Civil War, all the way naming them from generals to privates, each one holding on to their Wabash values, but their country's values. With some help from Mr. Eller in the Archives Department, it shows that nearly 350 Wabash men served in World War I, and Wabash lost nearly 50 alums in World War II. As of now, Wabash Veterans Group has nearly 375 alumni or current students. We currently have 7 active ROTC students on campus who will earn a commission upon graduation. And we have 3 graduates of the program who are current officers in our military. Wabash and the military have long-standing tradition, many similar values, and a brotherhood that cannot be explained unless you've experienced it. But now we're going to get to some of the harder part of this speech. And I'm going to repeat myself many times in many different ways. But get help if you need it. Our organization sponsored a golf scramble to raise funds back in August. We raised nearly $10,000 in one day to help with our mission. But what stood out to me the most was not the money, not the great day of golf and the many adult beverages that were drank, not how damn overwhelmed Miss Spires and I were trying to put the whole thing together. It was an email we got from a warrant officer in the Navy who's not local, but he heard about us through a friend. Never met the guy. I got a message he wanted to sponsor a hole, and I asked him if we could meet so he could pay for the hole and we could go over what it wanted. And he just said, "I'm on deployment. I'll have to send you money." Well, most of the time, if you get a military person that says, "I'm on deployment," and they don't give where they're at, they're not allowed to tell you. So I didn't ask any other questions. So I have no idea where this gentleman is in our world right now. But he zelled me some money with one request, that his whole sponsors sign only say one thing: asking for help is not a sign of weakness. One stranger who I've never met summarized our entire goal of our organization in one sentence: asking for help is not a sign of weakness. So to help your friends, ask the tough questions. In a few weeks, there will be a group of fall senior athletes who will most likely lace them up for the last time. They've been involved with their sport for most of their life. whether it's soccer, cross country, or football, or any other fall sport I failed to mention. They've been playing since Pee Wee, Pop Warner, Youth League, or running in cross country meets since middle school. The feeling of competition is hard to get over, so when this season is over and we have a new 300-pound thing in the Allen Center for me to guard at night, don't be afraid to talk about it. I encourage you, those of you who remember past graduates, to call them and ask tough questions. Are you doing all right? How are you dealing with knowing it's over? What are you doing to replace that feeling of competition, and are you getting help if you need it? Make it personal. People absolutely love talking about themselves. Don't just call up and say, Jim, are you doing okay? Ask specific questions. Seniors, I encourage you, call your favorite player from last year or the year before. Catch up with him. Ask him what he's done to replace that feeling. If you need help, take classes on help with mental health. There are plenty of classes on this campus. Our mental health group does great work. Take the QPR course. It helps you, in particular, to understand and how to ask the tough questions in a politically correct way. Volunteer. Volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club. Be a big brother. Most of you, because you're going to be Wabash men, you will probably have people in positions under you at some point. You will be your business leaders. Get to know your employees. Figure them out on a personal level. If you can help see the triggers before they become bigger problems, it's going to be to your benefit. Because everyone out there is fighting a battle you know nothing about. 988, it's everywhere. It is on every bulletin board on this campus. It's on windows. It's on pop-up signs. If you don't know what it's about, it is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week suicide hotline that's manned by professionals. They have been trained, and there are options if you don't feel comfortable. If you are a college student, you can ask to talk to somebody your age. If you're on the spectrum, you can ask to talk to somebody that does that. If you're a veteran, they have people specialized. They have a number in this country for the suicide hotline that is geared to help anybody that needs it. I encourage you to call it if you are needing that. 8 minutes. I've been up here for over 15 already, but 8 minutes, less than 1% of your day, is all it takes to make a person feel validated. An 8-minute phone call, an 8-minute conversation, only 8 minutes. There's an article out there that I've read. There's a group, a men's group, they've gotten together and they all have an 8-minute partner. The idea is for you to drop everything if you get a text or a phone call that says, I need 8. You're not there to solve their problems, you're just there to listen so they can be validated as a human. They just need to know they have a ride or die. 8 minutes. I encourage you to find an 8-minute partner. Now, we've been here for a few minutes, and you may be asking yourself by now, hey, this guy's title of his speech was about a Wabash grad and a guitar, and he's never mentioned a guitar. Well, now we're here. The reason I started my nonprofit is simple. I don't want anyone else to get to where I was. I preach about getting help to you guys. I've mentioned it many times, get help. But if I talk about it, if I put it out there, it helps me to deal with my demons. When I was in basic training in a long time ago, my best friend from childhood, not the one who's now on my board, but my other best friend, was killed in a car wreck. He had just finished his freshman year at Purdue. And this is long before cell phones and long before the military let you call family very often. I was in basic training 1 week from graduation. I called home on my once-a-week phone call, and my parents had to share the news that Andy had died in a car wreck. Now, my parents had known this for 4 days, but this was 1990, and there's no way to just call your drill instructor and say, hey, we need to talk to Nick. So they had to hold on to this information for 4 days. and tell me from 1,600 miles away that I've lost my best friend. I broke down in the phone booth. Yes, the old Superman phone booth. I broke down, and a fellow airman came and asked me how he could help. We'd been through almost 6 weeks of hell together, and brotherhood was showing its face. Now, I asked him not to tell Sergeant Wolf, but being a good brother, after we got back in the dorm that night, he took me to Sergeant Wolf, our drill instructor. You know, the ones we see, full metal jacket? That was Sergeant Wolf. The same guy who for the last 6 weeks told me if I screwed up, he'd rip my head off and do things down my throat that we can't talk about. This gentleman, he pulled me into his office, and he had to explain to me that since Andy was not a blood relative, I couldn't go home for his funeral. Now, Andy's funeral and the day I graduated from basic training were simultaneous, and it still hurts to this day sometimes. But I understood because I wasn't his blood relative. After he'd talked to me for about an hour, I had the courage to ask him, I'm like, well, you've had me in here for an hour, and you tell me you understand, but please, sir, clarify how you understand. Sergeant Wolf, Senior Master Sergeant with 7 stripes, a 19-year Air Force veteran, got drafted into Vietnam from a small Oklahoma high school where he had 54 male high school graduates. At their 10-year class reunion, there were only 19 left that hadn't been killed in Vietnam. That to me summarized, well, yes, he does understand. He does understand that there are sacrifices. But the brotherhood he showed me by trying to console me, even though he was my drill instructor, showed me that the military has a brotherhood. But despite that, it still threw me into deep depression. And about 5 months later, I was here on leave in Crawfordsville. Yes, I'm a townie. I grew up on the other side of the tracks. And I used to torment you guys when I was in high school. But I sat on the edge of my bed with a loaded gun in my hand, trying to figure out why I should continue. Obviously, I'm here, and I chose to stay. But that reason was a guitar. Now, my best friend, who I had just lost 5 months earlier, we had plans to start our own blues band later in life. And I was fortunate enough to have 3 older brothers that let me listen to amazing music from Zeppelin, the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, Ted Nugent, Jeff Beck, Eddie Van Halen. If you get my point, every one of these guys knows how to play a screaming loud guitar, and it sounds like heaven to me. But I had promised myself, because I didn't know how to play a note, that Andy and I would have a band someday, and I was going to learn how to play. That's what kept me going. 35 years later, I now own 9 guitars. I've had at least 30 different ones. I've had the pleasure of playing on stage, played in a band. I'm not great. I am definitely not Eddie Van Halen, but I hold my guitar very dear to myself because it saved my life. That's how a guitar saved this veteran's life, but now there's a Wabash grad involved. A couple of years later, post-military, recently divorced, and somehow raising a 2-year-old with full custody on my own here in the Ville, so we have lots of options. Struggling to find a job worthy, different gun, different bed, different questions. This time the answer was a 2-year-old. Who was going to take care of him? Who was going to be his father? And all those questions that go with parenthood. I made the choice right then and there to try harder, fight the demons with more grit, enroll back in college. And I don't suggest trying to go to college full-time with a 2-year-old, but it can be done. I graduated from college, made some good choices and some too many bad ones along the way. But that 2-year-old who saved my life, his name is Edward Andrew Free Kashon, and he was a member of the Red Pack here at Wabash. His picture can be found on a composite at the Fiji House, and he's a 2017 graduate of Wabash College. He has gone on, like most guys here at Wabash, and obtained a master's degree. He's recently proposed to his fiancée, and she and him will get married next summer. And I'm so happy that I've chose to stick around and watch his ride. Like I said before, talking about this, letting others see that everyone has demons, even the safety guy at night, they can be fought off. Talking about it is my therapy. And yes, there is way more to my story. I've shared some of it with some of you at night, but I still have bad days when more than one demon shows up. I fight back. I don't let them move into my house anymore. I've taken my background and fought a good fight. And I continue to fight every day with the mantra that hangs on my wall in my guitar room: crawling, falling, and pain are acceptable. Quitting is not. I started my organization hoping to help veterans fight the same demons that I've had. Life is not easy, but with help we can all get through it. Our organization is not under some grand illusion that we're going to save the world. We just want to know that we've saved someone's world and we've started a butterfly effect. So as I wrap up today, it's been my honor to share my story with you. If you want to talk, you know where to find me. I'm probably watching the game or playing my guitar in my office when I'm not out on campus. Don't ever hesitate to ask for help. It's not a sign of weakness. Don't hesitate to find an 8-minute partner and reach out if you need 8 minutes. And if the demons come, and trust me, they will come, don't let them move into your house. It's okay to not be okay, but it's not okay to give up. Many times when we're out in public, I get asked, why the name Y22 for your organization? And after I explain to them, we lose 22 veterans a day, we want to know why. And my answer is pretty simple: because even one is too many. Thank you.
Please remain standing and join me in singing Old Wabash. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.